Yeah, you really changed my life. I don't even know if I've ever told you, but this is a great opportunity to tell you.
That's more gratifying, than just buying an expensive car and going on vacation. So, but it does happen, okay? And so the important thing that I always tell people, and I said that before in this podcast, is
Welcome everybody back to my channel. I am Mila, the Hostkeeper. Today we are talking with my mentor, my first mentor, breaking out into the entrepreneurial business. If you've heard me talk before, you've always heard me speak about how mentors are so important and how just getting information from somebody else will help you get to the next level. So I'm happy to welcome my mentor, Nick Tarte. Welcome, Nick. Thank you for being here.
thank you for having me, Mila. Thank you so much to join. You're an amazing lady, so it's always a pleasure.
Yes, thank you for being here. And I wanted to start with the one thing I really love about you is that you are like straight to the point. And when I first met you, I was like, I always tell the story. You ask me, do you have a boyfriend? I said, no. Do you have a husband? I said, no. Do you have kids? I said, no. You're like, good. Now you have all your time to focus on this business. I'm like, man, yes, sir. A lot of people, even myself, when I'm doing consulting, I don't even feel really comfortable to be like so blunt with people. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I love your style because really put some fire under me and here we are.
Well, thank you. I mean, sometimes you just have to get people to open their eyes, and sometimes straight talk tends to be more effective than, trying to beat around the bush. And you've always struck me as being a go-getter, entrepreneurial type. So, I'm glad I said that.
Yeah, you really changed my life. I don't even know if I've ever told you, but this is a great opportunity to tell you. You really changed my life. And I want to tell people how I met you. I joined a Liftoff, a pitch competition in Houston, and you had to get a score mentor was part of it. And you actually all the mentors would mentor, I think, every Saturday or Sunday at the library. I don't really remember how it went. This is in 2016. So this is when Hostkeeper was not even really an idea, really. I was there for a different idea. Remember, I was doing an app. Do you even remember that? I came and you were doing a talk on marketing, and you could choose any score mentor, but I loved your talk on marketing. Weren't you talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs in that talk too? I think that was you.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of seminar has kind of changed throughout the years, but at one point we did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, at that time, it made a lot of sense to me. And I don't know, I felt like you knew a lot about marketing. And it wasn't just me. I thought everybody in the room resonated with you because you were kind of different than the other score mentors. You're just like a real talker. I don't really know how to describe the other ones. It just seems like they're a little bit more closed off and you're just more open to share what's really going on. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one trying to seek you out as a mentor, but I don't know how I reached out to you. Maybe I requested you on score.org, but you ended up meeting me for coffee. Like, I don't remember how often we did, maybe once a week or once a month. And that's where I learned a lot of information from you. So let's get to talking about your business, how you got started and how you became a mentor. I want to hear the whole story. So Nick, where are you from and how did you start getting into business?
So I'm originally from India. So as you can tell from my accent, I don't have the Texas twang or whatever. But, I came here into the US in 1981 and I was not thinking business, to be honest with you, for several decades. I want to let people understand that it's not like entrepreneurship is like you're born with it and you got fire in your belly, and you kind of read those stories a lot, and people tend to think that, these people just wanted to go out like Bill Gates. He was into business in school and he dropped out of Harvard College. But For many of us normal people, the awakening can come much later. In my case, it came, I was working in corporate America and I was looking at all these companies. And I said, you know what, I'm kind of, I know I can do this job better than them. And that's what got me going. And I said, okay, let me jump in. And obviously it's not easy at all. It's hard, but I'm glad I did. And so it wasn't up until my 40s, middle 40s to late 40s.
Wow.
Late 40s when I actually got into it. So you guys are on a, you're on a roll. You're on a head start way ahead of me.
Wow, we're just starting then.
I'm sorry?
We're just starting.
Absolutely. So I started pretty late, and I guess the takeaway from that is, there's no age too late for anyone to start. Absolutely. Mentorship is very important. I wish I knew about mentors back then, but with the little that I knew, I read a lot. So based on my reading, I took my company in a certain direction, and that helped. And that's what got me bought out. And ever since then, I've been retired. And so I get to meet with Mila and some other wonderful people like her.
I didn't even know you started at 40 or after 40. That's when you
40.
started your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Middle 40s at least.
So what was your business?
It was in regular consulting work, in IT consulting work. I don't want to go into technical details, but one thing I always preach is don't do anything and everything. You got to do something that you can be good at, and pick a small part of the market to enter.
That's right.
So you can differentiate yourself and be good at it, and then from there you can do other things depending on how the business and the overall environment evolves. It was in a specialized form of IT consulting. So I won't say IT consulting, it was in a specialized within that. And that specialization is what helps, because if you're specialized in doing something, then you can stand out eventually from the rest of the competition. And it also helped me gain customers that way, because the customers immediately, you're talking their language in that particular area, whereas the others are talking mile wide, inch deep, and I'm mile deep, an inch wide, so to speak.
How long did you do that before you sold it?
I started in 96 and I sold it in about 2005. So roughly 10 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm going on 7 years on this business, Nick. I don't look like I'm ready to sell it. And can you tell everybody how much you sold it for? I know you shared it with us at the score.
I know, I don't think I've shared the number, but it was a few million. So, and I'll leave it at that, because it gave me enough to retire and lead a comfortable life. Obviously, I didn't make out like Bill Gates or whoever, needless to say. But I sold for enough where I don't have to worry about how the bills are getting paid. But even if you don't sell, okay, not all businesses can be sold. Some can, depending on how you structure it. If you have branded your business, if you have given it some distinctive appeal, and you have in a niche area which other people can't easily enter, and those two things can help you get bought out. You got to have something that who is buying you feels that tomorrow that business is not going to turn to zero.
Right.
So they're buying because it is like Subway got bought out by private equity people. Okay.
Right.
But they're buying it because it's a brand, and people are going to Subway irrespective of who the top dog who owns that brand is. And so that's a brand. That's an example of a brand, like Ford or Mercedes or whatever. These are brands. Mine was kind of branded, but mine was more in a specialized niche. And I developed expertise in that area from my consultants and me. And that's what the buyer wanted.
And
Yeah.
now I'm seeing your stories are really crazy because you came in 10 years, bam, you sold this business. Now you can retire. I mean, I would love to have a business that I can, after 10 years, maybe my next 3 years, I can retire. But it seems like, it almost seems like your purpose is not to be, rich, even though millions is still, it's rich and it's even building wealth. But I feel like there's like more of a reason why you didn't keep going on. And you've talked to me about this before, which is your family. You really want to leave something for your kids. And I think that's an amazing thing. And you spend time with your family. You go on vacations. Since I've known you, you always take at least a family vacation every year.
Or more than one.
Yeah. But a lot of us don't really do that. Why is that important for you?
Most of my vacations, the kids come along with me as well, and my wife as well. And some, my wife's not there, my kids are not there, but I still go because of curiosity. I like people, and I like to see different ways that people are doing things. Like you go to, like, I don't know, Costa Rica, or whether it is like the last trip was Bali in Indonesia, and how people think, and I get to talk to them about their day-to-day activities. I talk about their medical care, are they happy, sad? It's pretty interesting. And of course, you have all the scenic stuff that you tend to see. But I'm interested in history too. So for me, it all comes together from a historical standpoint. Uh,
Absolutely.
so that's a big driver for me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love to travel too. I'm not so big on history, but I love people too. I love just, seeing how people are. That's true.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into mentoring?
Yeah, so I didn't do mentoring right away, I must admit. So after I sold, I was traveling, all that good stuff. And then I said to myself, you know what? I'm still young. I need to give back to society. That's more gratifying, than just buying an expensive car and going on vacation. So my first stint it was very brief, with Habitat for Humanity. And, I showed up like whatever, I think 5:30 a.m. in the morning to build a house. And, I mean, you're lifting this and it was like back-breaking stuff. And I said, you know what? This is not for me. I don't have the muscle. Mine is more up here. I have more of a thinking ability, I feel. And so this banging nails and all that stuff, that's not for me. So I volunteered even at the warehouse, like, yeah, you're lifting one sink here and doing this and all rested stuff. It was all physical stuff. So all these activities were physical in different ways in giving back. I stumbled into SCORE because I saw an ad about if you have been a businessman or have owned a business, we'd like to hear from you. I said, That's when I came to know more about SCORE. I had not heard about them. I wish I had heard when I had my company,
Right.
because they're free. It's a
Right.
free source for mentoring, and because they're free, they don't get to advertise because they don't have the money. They're broke. And it is a national, just to give a plug for SCORE, it really is a good organization. It is partly funded by the federal government, and in conjunction with the Small Business Administration. They're headquartered out of Washington, D.C., and they have chapters throughout the U.S. And even if you can't meet somebody in person, they'll do it through phone call or whatever, that other mentor is comfortable with. And you don't like that mentor, you can request another one. How about that? I don't like this guy. I don't like the way he looks at me. Boom, go someone else. He's not speaking Spanish. Well, there's mentors who speak Spanish. And, some mentors are okay, they're good, and some are, just a pastime. I'll be honest with you. But don't stop, just try on different people, and each mentor is going to give you a tidbit of advice, and that's going to go a long way. So in my case, I found SCORE to be a perfect fit in that I was sharing knowledge. I was helping people, molding their mind, so to speak. And I like that. I enjoy that. I enjoy teaching. And so in one aspect of SCORE is the seminars, the courses that we teach. So I started teaching, like you said, marketing and a couple of other courses. And I enjoy that because that was all in person and face to face. Now it's all through Zoom and in person, and I don't really like it because I don't get to see the reaction of the audience, even though we have a lot more attendees now.
Right.
When you were attending, we would have like what, 20, 30 people in the room. Now we have like 200 or 300. They could be anywhere in the US. So you get more attendees, but to me, it's not as gratifying. Why I get into mentoring is, number one, obviously I'm sharing what I know, but also importantly, it's gratifying to know you have made a difference. If you have turned one life around, if you have helped improve one family's situation, to me that is immensely, that's rewarding. And we don't get paid, this particular score. These are all volunteers. And like I said, they're broke. And that's why they don't advertise, and that's why you have not heard of them. Their score, it's like scoring a goal, SCORE.org. Just visit them or talk to Mila. She'll put you in touch with them.
I talk about SCORE all the time, the time. And people say, oh, how did you get a mentor? Because that is the thing. That's what I love about SCORE, is because people like me who don't really have access. I don't know any millionaires. I don't know anybody who had a business before. My world was a different world. Most of the people I grew up with, we grew up in the military, and I went to my even 20-year reunion, and everybody kind of was in the military some way, somehow, either in the Army or the law enforcement or something like that. And I almost went that way when I, graduated from high school. I'm like, should I join? Because that's what I knew. And so having SCORE is just amazing, just to be able to meet you and talk to somebody like you who can give me more information. You did change my life. You really turned my life around. You really did. And even the life for my family. And I still meet with you at least once a year. We need to do it more often. I try to do it more often. You really did change my life. And I'm happy that I can tell you that, because just the little things that you were, and my personality, I need somebody a little bit hard on me. And you were perfect. And you're funny. You were perfect for me because you talked in a way that I could understand. If somebody's like, doesn't really care, or just like, okay, you got to do this, I'm not really going to pay attention. He's like, hey, you even told me, and I tell people this all the time. There were some assignments you would give me, and I wouldn't do it because I didn't know how to approach it or whatever the case may be. And then, the next time I see you, did you do this? And I'm like, no. And you're like, listen, you're going to be wasting my time and your time if you don't do this, what I'm telling you to do. And I'm like, wow, he's right. How am I supposed to move forward if I don't do what you know way better than I do. That's just a fact. So for somebody who doesn't know, just listen to the people who do know and just try it out. That was another thing. There were some things you were trying to tell me, and I just remember at the time I felt like it was a little bit outdated. And I'm like, should I trust this guy? But you know what? When you're a business owner, which I know now, because I didn't know any business owners before, business owners know a plethora of things. And honestly, you still do. Whenever we talk, you're always saying you're learning, you keep up on the dates on real estate, on the economy. You always keep up on, you don't wake up and just, don't do anything. You still stay up to date. So now that you are retired, what are the kind of things that you are doing? I know you are into real estate, and you've tried to teach me some of that as well. So obviously with your money that you made from selling your business, it looks like you reinvested it in making sure that you keep making money.
I invested in I came pretty close to buying a restaurant chain, which thank goodness I didn't. Because that would have been around 2008-9 timeframe, right before the economy crashed. And that would have ruined me for sure. So I'm glad I didn't. Something told me, like you're going into something that you don't understand. Step away. With the real estate thing, I just met multiple people who didn't strike me as particularly very intelligent or something like that. And I'm not trying to denigrate anyone. But it tells me that, if this person can do it, so can I. That's all it's telling me, that this is not rocket science and it's a matter of just getting into it and then giving it a go. And initially, like all businesses, real estate also, you're not going to win in the beginning. Your first deals or 2 or 3 may not be as good, or you might even lose money. But that's how it is with business, right? When you start, the money doesn't just come rolling in. And so it took me a few. I was into single family, and then now today I'm in multifamily. But it took me at least 3 houses before I understood, on the 4th house, how to do it the right way. Because now you're seeing plenty, you have more contacts, and that's the beauty of business. I tell people, just jump in.
Yeah.
Don't try and figure out, is the water cold and hot? Is it deep? Is it shallow or whatever? Get some help, get some mentoring, and jump, because you are going to learn an exponential amount as time goes by. And that is what makes a difference. Within 6 months, your knowledge is going to be like off the chart compared to what it was before.
Absolutely.
But if you have not taken that plunge, you're not going to be at that level. And then you can decide whether it's just still good for me, or do I want to keep still doing it, or do I need to modify, change tack or whatever. So yeah, I'm doing real estate mostly, but mostly I end up having to travel also to India, where I have another real estate venture, a different kind.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's what I'm doing.
So you're not really retired.
Yeah. So my whole day is kind of busy. Yeah. But it's a retirement, which is by the kind of things I'm doing are by choice. Number one. Number two, I get to do it on my time schedule. So a whole lot different than when you are working for someone, or even if you have your own business, because own business never quits. It's like 7 days a week. Whereas this, even though I'm busy in a way that I can structure my day. I have a lot of flexibility. So I'm happy.
Yeah, you're doing great. And I love meeting you for lunch, and we're just talking, and you teach me some stuff, you don't even know it. And you mentioned that mentorship was very important. Why do you think mentorship is important?
For any business owner or a potential business owner, it can make the difference between succeeding or failure. It can make the difference between making money or losing your entire savings. It can make the difference between being this successful versus more successful. And let me tell you, I could have been more successful in my own business if I had the right mentors. I didn't. Yeah, I came from a different country, India, with this concept of mentoring doesn't exist.
Right.
Or maybe it's beginning to take off a little bit, but in the US, it's much more evolved. And I just didn't know it. And I wish I did. It could have made a lot of difference. It would have helped me to manage my business, because you need you need mentors for the kind of business you are running and how to grow it. You might need a mentor for how do you do your financial planning within your business, for example. And those are different types of mentors, or accounting, hey, this is not making sense. So there are accounting mentors also who specialize in nothing else but accounting. Mine is more marketing, general business. Having a mentor can make a world of difference if you are into needing to know how to get licenses, how to get permits, how to set up your company. What sort do you want to have, an LLC versus a Chapter S or a C Corp or limited partnership? There are mentors in SCORE who will give you that advice for free. And so you're not going to make at least a mistake in that direction. Now, whether you have the chops to do what you're set out to do, that's up to you. But the mentor can at least help you plan. Cash planning is super important because you want to develop. And that's one of the things that in the Liftoff Houston, they were teaching you, is to drop your cash flow projections. And when you do your cash flow projection, you find out that, shoot, I thought if this business was going to take X amount of dollars, it's going to take like 3 times X. That's when you realize it dawns on you. And you need that, because I'm just giving an example. Let's say you think that the business will take $1,000 and you say, okay, I'll spend 1,000 and I'll go for it. And then later on, you find out that 1,000 isn't enough and you're making progress, but you need more money. But now you're in a difficult situation because you exhausted your 1,000. Business is growing. So there's this whole light at the end of the tunnel, but it's going to need more capital. What do you do now at that point? Most businesses will go out of business at that point. I mean, they can see their runway, the plane will take off, but they run out of runway.
Right.
If you have planned this better, if you have done that cash flow projection, which is not that difficult, you just have to sit through it and put it into a pen and paper, you'll realize that you wouldn't have taken 1,000, it would have taken you $3,000 to really do this right. And that extra $2,000 you didn't know about that you're going to need is the reason why you even lost your 1,000. Your life savings, and on top, you could have been successful with 3,000, but you didn't. So there's a big, huge impact to not doing it right. I mean, it's a hugely negative impact. Now, my background is of an MBA, so this kind of came a little bit naturally to me to do cash flow projection, and I did it before I started my business, and I realized, shoot. I'm going to be running some losses for several months, and I need the capital to cover those losses. But most people don't have an MBA or a business background, and that's why a mentor, like in SCORE or any other mentor who can teach you this stuff or help you, is important. Mentors, by definition, should not be charging you as well. If they charge you, they are a consultant. Watch out for those people, okay? Stay away, because what they want is not the same thing that what you want.
Right.
Okay. So just understand that very quickly. Consultants give you a lot of song and dance. They have snazzy brochures and websites. The people who are really wanting to help you don't, because they're like, hey, either take it or leave it.
Right.
You don't want it, then it's no skin off their back. They don't end up having to lose or gain because you chose to come or not come.
That's right.
As a consultant desperately wants your money and is going to go all out. But that being said, as I said before, not all mentors are quality mentors, okay? So at SCORE, you can keep changing mentors. You can go on request, like if it's in Houston, or any city that you're in, San Diego. We have chapters all across the country. There's, I think, 250 odd chapters.
Absolutely.
Whichever city you're in, there is a chapter. And you just walk into the office and say, hey, I would like a different mentor. I want a mentor who's more like this, like this, like that, whatever.
Right.
And they'll try and assign you another one. If you don't like that, you can still request another one. That is the philosophy of SCORE, okay? No matter who tells you what. And so you can get a mentor. It'll make a world of difference, trust me. I mean, all these things that I described, how to structure your business, whether legally, accounting-wise, financial planning, all these things are super important. And you're going to have a mentor or more than one mentor to help you. So,
yeah, you said a couple of things, because a lot of people ask me to be their mentor, but I say I'm not mentor quality just yet. I mean, I'm still working. So that's why I do exchange my time for a little bit of money to do some consulting if you want to pay for my time, because I'm still trying to grow my business. And then you said another thing about the trajectory and changing, which I completely agree with, because when I came to you, I believe I was cleaning like a 2-bedroom townhouse that was 3 stories for like $84 or something like that. And then you told me, well, if you hired somebody, where's the money for them? You need to change your price. And I was thinking, I didn't even think of growing it like that because I had no clue how to grow it. So it was not even in my brain to even think about it. I was not even thinking about growing the business. I honestly didn't even want to be cleaning. I wanted this fabulous app idea that I wanted, but it took you that really said, you sat down with me and you said, listen, yeah, the app idea is great and all, but you have no idea how long that's going to take, or even if it's going to take off. But this cleaning business here that you have here, you can go somewhere with that. And so, and you knew at the time I was completely flat broke. So, I mean, I had to do exactly what you said. So that was it. It really did change my life because you were straight with me. You were direct with me. You told me what I had to do, and I did it.
Very good. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, on that consulting, I just wanted to add, I kind of say that um, some consultants do add a lot of value. Okay. So just pick your consultants carefully, but understand that if a consultant is trying to pester you for business, then, just be careful.
Oh yeah.
Mila, I mean, one thing that you may want to consider if you are going to want Mila to help is maybe structure some sort of a win-win proposition, they win, you win, and that way everyone's interests are aligned, and that no one's unhappy or I mean, that works out quite well too.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Nick. Yeah. Hit me up if you want to work with me. There's the win-win for sure. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And that's why I always like to work closely with you because I know eventually maybe even though I just started kind of like as your student, we could even one day get into business together. Or you've taught me a whole lot about business. And so that's what I like about this relationship as well. You always have somebody actively in your life that you can always keep aspiring to the next level with, even though you're like semi-retired, but not really. I want to live your life when you're still working. I like to work. You still work, you still get to travel, you still get to do your thing. It's amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, the thing is that that's the goal, right? For everyone to, number one, provide for themselves and their families, and number two, then to be able to choose a lifestyle that they want eventually. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but eventually you will be living on your own terms than if you are today working for someone else. It takes time. You just have to be patient and you have to be hardworking, but it does happen. Okay. And so the important thing that I always tell people, and I said that before in this podcast, is you start out like in my business. I started out going north. That's an analogy I give. Think about it like that. I started out going north, and I thought that's where the pot of gold is. That's where I need to be focusing on. By the time, as soon as I entered the business, I realized, oops, that's not where it is. And I had to move east. So it started out north, now it's already moving east. But that was based on what I found after I jumped into the waters. See, when you're not in the water, you don't know about these things. But once you jump, now you realize you start to gain knowledge, you start to gain contacts, your networking grows, and you realize that, going north is not the right way. And so I was headed east. I made a course correction. By the time I sold my business, I was going in a completely different direction. I was going west.
And when you started.
Yeah. So now I did not visualize that. That's very important to understand. Before I started the business, I had no idea I was going to be headed west. I thought I'm going to go north.
Right.
And instead, I went east, and then I had to make another course correction, and I was going west. But these things happen once you get into the business of business. Then you learn. and you can make course corrections. So the takeaway is, look, don't get scared. You got to jump in and then find what is working for you and how you can then either stay at it or make course correction.
Just exactly what you just said. I'm going through that journey right now. And I love that you said that. I thought I was going north, thought I was building an app. That was like, that's a no. Then I'm going east and I have this, niche cleaning business. And I think I need to make a course correction as well, So this is exactly what you got to do to get into business. I really appreciate that because it really aligns with how life actually goes as an entrepreneur. It kind of goes like that. It doesn't really go straight. So Nick, I want to thank you for being here. But before we go, I have one last question, which is, what is some of the advice you would give to somebody who is starting a business and they don't have a mentor? What would you tell them?
I would say get a mentor. Really get a mentor. Okay, and I said this before. In my case, I didn't have a mentor, but keep in mind, I was also educated in the sense I had an MBA. And that MBA teaches you some fundamental theoretical concepts in college. It's not good from a practical standpoint in that it's not very helpful, but it is helpful. But if you don't have that knowledge, you really should be getting a mentor. It will make a ton of difference. You should get a mentor because, as I said, it can make a difference between you succeeding or losing your life savings.
Absolutely. And after all that, do you think you can be successful at business without networking with other people?
Oh, no. You have to network. Networking is the lifeblood, the oil, so to speak, of being successful in business. That is super duper important because, that's how your knowledge is going to grow. That's how your contacts are going to grow. That's how your whole network of vendors, customers, etc. That's how you're going to get it. Otherwise, how will you get your customers?
Right.
It is going to come through the process of networking, and then someone will say, hey, why don't you talk to so-and-so? And that so-and-so might give you a contract, a good contract, but the problem is you wouldn't have found that person if you had not started with another person to begin with. And that starts with the process of networking.
Right. As I'm doing these talks and stuff, I'm now starting to see like the traits of successful entrepreneurs. And what before I became an entrepreneur, I didn't know what those traits were. And it looks like you do have to network. I also noticed that not only do you have to have a good network, but you have to be able to visualize. You said that a little bit as well. You're like, I had to visualize, which direction you had to go. Do you think that's an important part as well?
You have to have some sense of what you want to do, right? You could continue working for someone. That's one option. But if you do not want to work for someone, then the question becomes exactly what do you do? And in that, what do you do? Now you have to assess what are your strengths and what is it that you would like to do? What are maybe your weaknesses? Well, and by the way, at SCORE, we have a class, Introduction to Business, that covers all these concepts, what it takes to be a successful business person. So we go through that and we help you to just be aware of these traits. There's more than just networking. There's more like there's other things also involved that you need to, you have to be hardworking, all that good stuff. That's a given. But small things like, is your spouse going to be cooperative or not? That makes a difference too. If you have a cooperative spouse and you start a business, you're going to run into issues.
Yeah.
Because when you start your business, you're going to be working not 40 hours anymore, you'll be working 80 hours a week.
Yep.
If you have kids and all, it gets worse. And then if you have not spoken with your spouse and your spouse is not on board, now you've got friction in terms of who's going to do what in the house.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. You want that kind of discussed in the beginning. And even then, there's going to be unpleasant surprises, but at least both have decided that, yeah, this is something we want to do. And that goes a long way. So there's a lot of small things like that you need to take into account as well. Small as they are, they become extremely important.
That's right. And I'm going to leave it at that. I love that. And now I have to bring you back on how, I don't know if there's work-life balance or how to balance, having a family, because you're really involved with your family, which I love to see. And, as a business owner, it's extremely hard to be able to find some kind of balance between family and work. So that's also important. All right, Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mila. All the best to you. All the best to whoever is watching this podcast. God bless you all. And remember, get a mentor.
Yeah, get a mentor. Thank you, Nick. You're awesome.